will attempt to maintain the queue correctly. Your kindness and patience will be greatly appreciated. Please limit your share to 3 to 4 minutes, and I've asked to volunteer for our readings.
Hi, I'm Carlos. I'm an addict.
Hi, Carlos.
And this is how it works. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. 1, we admitted that we are powerless over our addiction, that our lives have become unmanageable. 2, we have come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, we made a searching and fearless and moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to all of them. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscience contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
My name is Janine. I'm an addict.
Janine.
These are the 12 traditions of NA. We keep what we have only with vigilance, and just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6, an NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
That's good. Sorry.
Hey, and our scheduled speaker for this workshop are Stuart B. and
Kristen?
Kristen.
Karen.
Karen, sorry.
Karen on.
Stuart B. and Karen.
Not the main one, though.
Is, Stuart
All right, Stewie, you're up.
Okay. All I see is that writing on the screen. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. My name's Stuart. I'm an addict.
Mr. Stewart,
Is the screen I'm looking at is what I'm going to be looking at the whole time?
That's right.
Well, that's brutal. Okay, that's a little better. All right. I'm just turning on. I'm recording myself, so I hope it's okay. and I'll be with you in a second. All right. Thank you for allowing me to share, to be at your convention. And I used to secretary a meeting, and I took over the meeting because no one else wanted to take it over. And the meeting eventually closed, but typically there were like 1 or 2 people, and I brought the coffee and paid the rent and cookies, etc. And if one other person was there, it was a meeting. So I'm not too put off being on Zoom. It doesn't matter if there's 5,000 people or 5 people. It's all the same. One addict helping another is what we do. So it's what I'm doing. 10, 11, and 12. There is nothing worse than having to say you're sorry, because then you're one sorry MF if you're repeating your behavior. That's what the 10th step is to me. We continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. It's like, how do you go to bed at night when you got that stuff churning in your stomach? So by the time we're into the 10th step, hopefully we have done some work with our character defects and at least understand them. And for this is backtracking. And for me, what happened was that I had to write about my behavior every time I exhibited a negative behavior. Talking about my defects and shortcomings. And for those of you who don't know, a defect is getting angry and a shortcoming is sucking someone up. So that is the difference. That is the simplest way to explain it. And I would act out and write about it, and then act out and write about it, and act out and write about it. And eventually I came to a point where in the middle of what I was either doing or saying, I became aware of what was happening. And I swore to myself, now I have to write about this. And I was able to stop the behavior. And that continued for a while until I reached a point where I was aware of what I was doing and didn't have to act out on that particular behavior, which is not to say I walk on water by any stretch of the imagination, because I do not. But that is how I was able to change my behaviors, which is proof that the steps work, as my sponsor put it to me so aptly. Did you think about using today? And I said, no. And then he said, well, I guess the steps works and defects can be removed. So that's how we get into the 10th step. And it is, I guess it would be called mindfulness or an awareness, conscious contact with a higher power. Does anyone out there in Georgia know who Yule Hauser is? Y'all got Yule Hauser on your TV? He's on public television, and he does stuff all over Southern California. And he'll take you to where butterflies are, and he'll take you to some lady who's got 400 Barbie dolls, or some guy who has cactus, or someone who saves old record albums and stuff. And he just takes you all different places. So he was on this excursion on the old Route 66, which is US 10. And it runs parallel, and there are bits of it that haven't been torn up. And at one particular point near Palm Springs is a place called Hadley's, and Hadley's has dates, because there's dates that grow out there, and they got pine cone seeds and all kinds of stuff, and a couple of giant dinosaurs that are not real, but you can see him from the freeway and stuff. And so he was there looking around, and there were two Buddhist monks, and they were just having a great old time. And they were in the store, and they were looking at different kinds of foods and dried fruits and things. And he walks up to them and he says, "Hi, can I ask you a question? I'm doing a Yulhauser." And they go, "Sure." And he says, "Well, how do you practice spiritual principles?" And this is what they said, that it was only through adversity that they can practice the spiritual principle. And Yulhauser thought about it for a minute and kind of let it go. And it really struck a chord with me, because on any given day, when things are going good, I don't have to practice nothing. I just live my life. You know, I'm in the slow lane. I got my music on. We do have a lot of traffic in California, and if you let it get to you, you get all drove up. So I don't have to practice a spiritual principle because I don't let it bother me. I listen to my music. I allow enough time to get to where I need to be, and handle my business. Practice. It is only through practice that we can get better at anything. I play terrible golf. but I'm an avid golf player. I think that's a wrong example because my golf ain't getting no better. So, so much for practicing. But going to bed at night is a lot easier when you're not overthinking, when you're not twisted, and when you don't have to call someone up at the last minute and apologize for something. I got clean in 1994, and in the course of staying clean, there were 2 formal amends that were made to me. 2. And I don't know how it works for other people. One was over an argument I got in with someone, and the guy came unglued, and then 20 minutes later he called me on the phone and apologized for the behavior, not whether he was right or wrong, but for the behavior. And the other one was for an ex-girlfriend who called me under the premise of helping her move furniture, but she just wanted to revisit old times one last time, and then called me later and said that that was the reason that she had called me, to help her. You know, she didn't need anything moved. You know, she was just lonely and wanted to see someone. So I hope 10th step will work better for you. I have no expectation. I have no expectation over people making amends. I worry about me a lot more than other people. And there are, I don't know, words. There are words that people use today, you know, like a hater or fake friends. I don't know what it's like out where y'all are at, but that those are terms that are used rather freely in Southern California, and basically I don't understand them. That if my ego is in the way, then I am dealing with a whole lot more than if my ego is not in the way. People talk about earning respect. I believe that everyone gets automatic respect. You have to unearn respect, but everyone is equal. I mean, that's the spirit of anonymity. Definition of anonymity is not about talking about breaking someone's anonymity. It's more about equality, that we're all equal. So how do I respect or disrespect someone when they're just the same as me? But that's, I don't know if that's experience or opinion. You know, like so often the line gets blurred between opinion, strength, and hope, and experience, strength, and hope. But it's my experience. Although I do know that everything I know and everything I believe is subject to change on a daily basis. And I hope you have heard that before, and that really strikes a chord with me. What am I doing on this? Bear with me. Okay, that was like 10 minutes. Yes. I like the 11th step. I'm just going to jump. And if I've skipped anything, I'm sure there'll be time left over and y'all can ask me a question, because there ain't but 3 or 4 of us, so we got time for that. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. I think through my experience that this is my favorite step. Absolutely. That I had a major problem with a higher power. And by the time that I had 9 years clean, I was capable of believing that you could believe that there was a higher power. I could not. I could not. And there's the small print. And for those of you who do not pray, there is an alternative solution, and this is meditation, and that's out of the basic text. I really don't quote the basic text a lot. I only quote it when it supports my belief system. So that's one thing that I strongly believe. And I just had major difficulty. I just did. My second wife passed away from cancer like 15, 18 years ago. And she was an avid reader. And at that point in time, she had all these books. She had massive amounts of books. And she had these bookshelves, and they were doubled. There were books behind books and books on top of books. And a friend had a van, and we were just dropping books off at different libraries until they refused to take them. And I eventually went to a meeting at the local VA, Veterans Administration, and it just so happened that the meeting was in the library, and I just didn't ask. I just loaded up their library with a whole bunch of books. She liked murder or mysteries and stuff like that. However, she was a very spiritual being. She was a very spiritual being, and she had all these books and on Taoism and Taoism and Buddhism and meditation, and I just grabbed all of those because I don't know if I was struggling. I was just like I was a pretty happy camper, being who I was and living my life. However, I didn't want to leave anything undone. For those of you who happen to be relapsers and don't know why you relapse, there could be one thing that you're not doing. And if you don't know what that one thing is, then you better do everything. You got to cover your bases. So that means, you got to go to meetings, you got to get a sponsor, and you got to write, and you got to share, and you got to get phone numbers, and you got to call people, and you got to do fellowship. You got to have people that you call and talk to on a regular basis, which gets you tipped up. How else do people know when you're left to center and when you're acting jiggy? If you don't talk to no one and you don't share, you're going to get high. And the way people get high today, they die, which ain't nothing nice. And it's never the plan. People use with impunity, and impunity means we don't think about our actions. We just go ahead and do them. So getting back to what I was talking about. So there's all these books, and there was one particular author, which is, I guess it's an outside issue, so we'll call him Nunez. And his name was Nunez Business. And I just started reading all of his books. And he had one book which was kind of like meditation for dummies. And I said, oh, that's me for sure. And I picked that one up and I panned it, which means I just, like went through it quickly, kind of like shuffled the pages real quick and did some light reading and stuff, and then went back through it again. And what I discovered was that each chapter took me a little more in depth into what meditation was and what the experience is and how to meditate. And here's the capper. This is what really got me hooked. I'm an addict. I get hooked real easy. And this is what really got me hooked, that it's called enlightenment. And there are 84,000 pathways to enlightenment. And basically that means there is no wrong way. If you go to the index in the basic text, in It Works How and Why, in Spiritual Principles, in this, we call it the flat book, in the Step Working Guide, and go into the index in the back, there is nothing on meditation. There is no direction. Kind of like breathing. No one tells you how, you just do it. So it required investigation on my part. And that could have been that one particular thing that I was not doing to ensure that my recovery was sound. That I wanted to be sure. That's no good either. Never mind. And I wanted to be sure that I was doing the right thing. And through the book and the books, I got that, I hate to use the word epiphany, that burning bush kind of thing, that spiritual awakening, an awakening of the spirit, which is just like a connection to a higher power. So the thing that I was trying to avoid the most was the thing that brought me closer to my higher power. And I will not go into it. I will not describe it, because it's like a personal thing. It's like you ask someone how they pray and they don't share about it at a meeting, because it's not a topic for general sharing. But I will tell you this, that through meditation, I was able to become a less aggressive person. I had less anxiety in my life. The qualities that we admire most. And when I talk about that, I think about the Eskimos, the people that had been clean when I got clean, the people whose recovery I admired, the people who walked the walk and talked the talk when they weren't in the rooms. The people that I gravitated towards them. I got clean. I was older than dirt already when I got clean. So I had no problem going up to the old timers, because I was the same age as them. I was just the same age as these guys through 20 and 30 and 35 years clean. And we had the same experiences while we were using and grew up in the same generation. So there was that bond. There was no bond when it came to recovery, because I didn't have none. But they were kind and loving and took me under their wing. And as I gravitated towards those people, I learned from them what they were about. Not necessarily what they were about, but the most important thing is like how they went about being who they were. How the hell do you not get upset? How do you not bust a grape? How do you not raise your voice? How do you not throw shit? How do you not break things? How do you not slam the door, kick the dog, whatever, yell at your old lady, throw a frying pan at your old man? How do you not do those things? Those are the important things in life. So that is what I was searching for. That's what was missing in my recovery. That's what I needed. I needed to be that person that I admired. I wanted to admire myself, as opposed to being that person who comes to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I didn't have low self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. If you used like I did, and I don't think many people did, it's a little, I don't know. It ain't cause I'm smart. They don't call it smart. They call it dope. You know, I just used for too many years. And I call that a lot of damage. Oh, that's better. That you don't get out. You don't get out okay. You stop using, you ain't okay. You ain't okay. You probably got chronic depression. Probably got hepatitis. God knows what else you got. Y'all missing a few teeth and a few marbles. You know, I was at a meeting once and I took a cake and this guy hands me a little marble. And I said, what's this? And he says, you don't get them back all at once, dude. Here's a marble. I thought that was funny. So basically what I'm saying is that as we come to Narcotics Anonymous with damage and we have to learn how to do things, you know, like my conversation is, hey, what you got, what's up? Or who can I rob? Do you know someone we can get a lick on? So my communication skills were down. My employment level was down. All of those things were down. And I had the attitude to match. My living skills were adjusted to the life that I was living. And all of a sudden, it's not okay to do those things. And what's left? What's left? It's that black hole, it's that void, it's that thing inside of me that I've been trying to fill desperately for all those years. And one drug or another, my drug of choice was what you got. What you got? That's my drug of choice. Me and you, Holmes. So how do you feel that? What do you do? How do you stay clean when you're losing your goddamn mind, when you think you're going to die, when your old man leaves you, when your girlfriend overdoses, you lose that job? What do you do? Mom's passes away. What do you do? How do you survive in the face of that insanity and the desperation of pain that cannot be taken away? And those are like really tough questions. That's like some crazy shit, you know, when you think about it. It just is. And most people fail. Most people fail. Well, I got loaded costs. You got loaded costs, it was Monday, fool. That's why you got loaded. You got loaded because it was Tuesday. You already were in pain. You already were in pain. We relive the past. Those who forget the past are condemned to relive it. It's a different Carlos Santa Ana. It ain't the rock and roller. It's a different Santa Ana. But he said that, which means that we do not learn from as addicts, we do not learn from our experiences. We continue to relive them. And as we continue to relive them, we react to today's experience with yesterday's feelings and emotions. And that's pretty deep. I didn't know where I was going. You know, like they asked me to speak on 10, 11, and 12. And I said, well, geez, I just talk about shit. You know, I typically don't go into the steps, so I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. I just didn't. I did. I will cop to it. I did write 2 pages. I got 2 pages of 8 notes. So I thought there, I thought there might be a couple of things that would be important to talk about. But so here I ain't going to leave you hanging. Don't worry. Don't worry. So here I am. I'm filled with pain. I'm filled with grief, and I don't know what to do because I haven't done any step work. And a bottle in front of me or a frontal lobotomy, are those my choices? Or a nice bag of dope? Or let me get me a little steel wool. Quick Brillo story. I pretty much got clean before they were smoking a lot of crack, and when I went into the supermarket and got the Brillo pad with the soap in it. But I didn't know. I didn't even know how to smoke crack at that time. Just give me a bag of dope and I'm okay. So through meditation, it didn't change the feelings. The feelings didn't change. The feelings were there and the feelings were wrong. Never deny anyone their feelings. Don't do that. Oh, it's okay, honey, everything's going to be all right. Well, maybe it's not going to be all right for them, you know. People have to be allowed. People are never heard. You're never heard. You're an addict. People don't listen to you. People don't pay attention to you. You don't have a voice. You get clean, you learn how to have a voice. You learn how to be your, my sponsor uses this term and I hate it, and your genuine self or whatever it is. I think it's another term, but you learn how to be who you are. You learn how to find out who you are. And you learn how to deal with grief and deal with pain. And if you're smart enough to get a good sponsor and work a few steps and learn about your past behaviors, which is what all the fourth step is all about. And the fifth step is the whys. We did what we did. You have a better chance staying clean. You just do. You just do. I mean, there ain't nothing worse than white knuckling it, you know. I didn't want to be an asshole all my life. What is the point of staying clean if I'm not willing to change? If I'm not willing to change, then it just makes no sense. Just give me a bag of dope. So by meditation, that psychic change occurs, that spiritual renaissance, the uplifting of my spirit, the desire to be a better person. It just happens. And that is a good segue. I love big words. It's a good segue into the 12th step, which is having had, I'm sure it's a having had, I've said it a million times. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Bam, there you are. There you are. And so by the time you're doing a formal 12th step, I would like to believe that you have most of the components in action. And for me, that means that I'm sitting here with y'all instead of giving out the chips in my home group. That means I have a commitment, and I do have a sponsee, and I do have a sponsor, and I love the rhetoric. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor, and you know, we're all about Narcotics Anonymous and all that stuff. But it's the truth. It's the truth. I have difficulty spreading myself thin. So if I only have one home group, then I don't have to focus my energies in a whole bunch of different places. You know, I did go to a meeting a day the first 5 years I got clean. And of course I used to say because I used every day, but that's a lie, because there were days I was sick and there were days I was in jail. But I would have, okay. I would have used every day. I guess that part's the truth. I would have used every day, and did my best to do that. So the remedy for that is to go to meetings. So I'm going to meetings, and I got a sponsee, and I'm being of service, and I've done all that committee work, and now I have a job where I get to be of service. I get to help others. So I have this mantra, and it might sound corny, but I don't think it is. It's do no harm. It's that easy. Do no harm to myself and do no harm to others, which means I don't have to do a 10th step that often. And what does that mean to me by definition? Well, it's like, I try to explain it this way. When you don't know what to do, you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? If that don't work, and you had a good mama, you said, what would mama do? And if that don't work, what would my sponsor do? And if that don't work, get a new sponsor. So there's decisions that we make which are rash and spontaneous. Over a period of time, the mind quiets. There's still a voice. There will always be a voice, but it is no longer a loud and screaming voice. It is no longer a voice that drives me up. You know, so many people call it the voice of the disease, and I don't know. The disease talks to me in my voice. The disease talks to me in God's voice. I just know what I would do, and I think about those people that I first admired when I got clean, and all I had to do was watch what they did and do what they did, and that act as if stuff, you know, act as if you know what you're doing, and act as if you can be that kind and loving person, and it's just like driving. Get a new, like, okay, so I got Waze. It's like Google Maps. I got Waze. Is that a promotion? Never mind. I got these apps on my phone that help me get from point A to point B, because I don't know how to do it. And if it's one, okay, so like I got a new job, and instead of taking the freeway, I'm making 35 left and right turns in the morning. At night, it takes me 15 minutes to get to work, and when I go home in the morning, it takes me an hour. That's just how California is. If y'all ain't got traffic like that, no, you're lucky. And I had to use the map over and over and over and over. And eventually I got to a point where I knew what to do. I knew what to do because I had done it so many times in the past. That's the capper. That's the secret. And it's just about that behavior I talked about in the 6 and 7 step. That if you change the behavior, you modify the behavior, and you do a different behavior enough times, it's Saturday night, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to a meeting, and then I'm going to work. That's what I do. I don't even have to think about it. It's just automatic. So when someone comes unglued and gets in my face, or someone is sharing that nonsense, I call it a psychotic episode, when someone is sharing that psychotic episode from the podium, and I just don't want to hear it. I don't have to get upset and irritated and angry. You know, I can feel compassion for that other person. You know, I don't know what's going on in their life. I don't know what kind of stuff they're going through, what kind of pain and anguish. And for me, as an addict, when I'm busting a grape, when I'm angry, when I'm irritated, when the bank one more time has snaked my goddamn money and someone has tapped my account, and I'm thinking, oh Christ, now I got to go through all this nonsense again with the changing the credit cards and stuff. Okay, so what do? If you're next to me, I'm going to be an ass. I'm going to be, I was so good, I didn't swear the whole time. I want you to know that I had trouble with that. But I tend to take that out on the people that are closest to me. So if I'm at a meeting, I will lash out. If I'm at work, I will lash out because of the things that are going on inside of me, that inner turmoil. So what I'm saying is that if I can get a grip on that and get an awareness that I'm not it, I am not more important than the next person, that I am a human being, I am bound in ego, and I get butt sore all the time, I don't have to act on that behavior, and I could be a kinder and a gentler person. That when someone else is being that person, I don't have to own it. I don't have to be responsible for someone else's behavior or emotions. I could just be a vessel of love. It sounds kind of hokey, but that's what it is. You know, you just be a little bit kinder and a little bit nicer and show compassion. And these are the things that we learn from working the steps. These are the things that we learn from our peers. These are the things that we learn from newcomers. If you go to a meeting that you have never been to before and you do not know who is sharing, then you can hear the message from someone with 2 days clean. If they're in your home group and you just roll your eyes because you've heard it 1,000 times before and you know they don't know what they're talking about, but if you don't know who they are and you're somewhere new, it will resonate. It will resonate with you. And you get to hear a message, you know, and I was at a convention and there was this, the main speaker, they gave him an hour and a half. I couldn't believe it. And he was at a point in his share talking about his behavior, and I had exhibited a lot of that same behavior, and it was basically nothing nice. So I got all upset. And I walked outside, and one of my buddies was out there smoking, and I told him what happened. And he said, Stewie, he said, what makes you think that he was sharing for your benefit? Who says it's your turn every time you go to a meeting? Maybe it ain't your turn. Maybe it was someone else's turn to hear what they needed to hear. And because we are unique and we are individuals, that different people need to hear different things. We all have different experiences. We have, I know I set that was my timer. I acknowledge the timer. You know, we all have different experiences, and we all need the opportunity to hear it. So we can hear it from that newcomer, and we can hear it the same from that old timer. Anyway, yeah, I'm long in the tooth. I could go on, but I want to thank you once again for allowing me to share. And I got this one in the book. I'm turning off 39 minutes and 8 seconds. That's good enough. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Stewie.
sharing. How long do I have?
You have until 11:55.
Really?
It's 11:17.
Because there's nobody else in here to open the floor up to.
Well, we can open it up to anybody in here can share on the topic when you're finished as
Okay,
well.
that's what I was.
Yeah, you can cut. go as long, the
Okay.
workshops can go as long as they need all the way to the end, or you can open it as well.
I'm Karen and I'm an addict.
Hey, Karen.
And, I was asked to do this just the other day. Actually, last Saturday, we were at the area, in H&I. So, I was asked to do this and I'm like, sure. He made sure to ask me in front of other people, so I wouldn't say no. But I wouldn't say no anyway. You know, I picked up this book the other day before yesterday, since I knew I was gonna be doing this. And, I was really glad that I did, because it's been a while since I've read, you know, these steps in this, this book. And it was pretty awesome to read them, because it refreshed a little bit. Do you want me to turn that way?
No, I'm getting ready to take that camera because he's zooming in and out, so we're done with that camera.
Oh, okay. But it was really cool reading this, because I haven't read it in a while. And, you know, talking about step 10, I've worked these steps, I don't know how many times with my sponsor. And I thought in recovery that step 10 was more of going over the IP of how my day went. And she had me do that day after day after day, so that I got into the habit of doing it every night before I went to bed. Did I lie to anybody? Was I really unkind to anybody? Did I use today? And it helped me to start realizing if I was having bad thoughts, or if I was wanting to cut somebody out. It made me realize that I just thought that with step 10 and that IP, this is more in depth and explaining to me, and helps me understand what really step 10 is about. And this brought it all back up to me the other night. So I became willing to look at my behavior and what I was doing. And my behavior while I was using was, you know, the only thing important to me was using. And I didn't have close friends, and I didn't have, I mean, I had a conscience. I was raised to have that conscience and to be kind to others, and, you know, treat others the way I wanted to be treated, and to just live like that. But during using, that's not what I was. And, so it became more to me, and she helped me understand that, you know, step 10 was more about than just looking at my day and how I treated people, and my thoughts and my actions and the things that I did. You know, and it taught, I've learned over the years that I can think things. I was talking about wanting to punch somebody in the throat not too long. You know, this is somebody that molested my daughter, so I still want to punch him in the throat, but I don't have to act on it. And I don't like the word hate. It's a very strong word, but if I ever hate anybody, it's him. And, you know, but I don't act on it. And that's the difference. And before, I would have acted a fool and caused a scene and, you know, done some crazy shit. But I don't have to do that today. And, you know, I just try to treat people the way I want to be treated. And as far as the outside issues, that was kind of hard for me to understand at first. Let's see. Yeah. No opinion on outside issues. You know, I didn't understand why we don't want to talk about specific higher powers or anything like that, because it was explained to me that if we start mentioning certain higher powers, then somebody's going to feel alienated and we're not in unity. I want whoever walks through that door, whether they're a Buddhist, Christian, a Muslim, whoever deserves to come in here and get clean and then have their own higher power. And I thought it was cool that, you know, I can't tell somebody that they have to have my higher power. And I think that's pretty cool. I sponsor a girl that's an atheist, and, you know, she had a real difficult time working the steps, but she did it. And, you know, I just think it's cool that we don't push any religion or belief system on anybody, because everybody can come in here and get clean. Because some people, they come in and they hear about Jesus or this or that or Muslim or Buddha, and they leave and they never come back. And they go out there and die from using because they don't feel welcome and they feel separate from. So it's real important for me to make people feel, so where am I? I'm in the tradition, so now I'm gonna go to 10, and there's a few things I've checked off that kind of resonated with me. The first one was in step 10, is taking that personal inventory. The 10th step furthers our spiritual healing in a different way by creating an awareness of what's going on in our lives today. And you know, by the time I got to this step, and I think probably for other people too, I changed despite myself. I don't know when it happened, but doing the steps at some point, I think 4 and 5 was a big relief for me. The first time I had that relief of getting rid of some of that guilt and shame. And then humbly asking the God of our understanding to remove our shortcomings is just as necessary now as it was in the 7th step. And I had forgotten that, you know, that it's just as valid today as it was when I first worked the steps and became aware of my behavior and what I needed to change. And it helped me a lot. I put on here, it's not just about making amends right away. It's not, I thought that that's what it was about, is if I spouted off at somebody or acted inappropriately, got aggravated with somebody, it was about me going and apologizing and not doing it again. I thought that's what the 10th step all it was. But I believe that it's a lot more in depth than that. And let's see. I have written in here from before, I don't like the feeling consequences of my actions and my behaviors. And before it was just, you know, losing things or losing a job or whatever I was physically or emotionally losing. What became more important to me is the feelings of shame and guilt and remorse. And that kept me pretty much acting right, you know, trying to do the next right thing. So, because I don't like those feeling consequences of feeling shame and guilt, and, you know, I hurt somebody's feelings or, you know, do something stupid and act like a bitch. I don't like that feeling anymore when I do those things. So over the years, I try not to really do them anymore. And that's what's important to me. And looking at my behavior on a daily basis. And I think working the steps and getting to step 10 helped me to realize what my part of things were, my behavior and the way I acted towards other human beings. Let's see. All right, step 11, we sought for prayer meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, the God of the day. As we understand Him, praying on with the knowledge it feels will for us and the power to carry that out. I do every morning when I get up. Thank God for waking me up, and I do pray. And I guess everybody can have their own way of prayer, however they do it. That's what I do. I'm not real good at it, but meditation, I'm not good at that either. I do meditation, and I quieten myself and be still. Sometimes I get it up here and here, and then sometimes it don't work like that. You know, if I start thinking in my mind, you know, what time, you know, how long is this gonna take me? So it's like, sometimes it works for me. I'm not very good at it. My sponsor does a lot of meditation, and she's, over the years, we've worked together and done some yoga and, you know, trying to meditate in that way. I could do that, but just, it's hard for me to sit still sometimes. And it still is. But I guess it depends on what my frame of mind is at the time, of where I can really quiet and listen. And I mean, I wish I could do it every day and kind of go off in that spiritual place, but that's not how it works for me. So as long as I try to have that contact with the, you know, a higher power in my prayer meditation, you know, it's worth an effort for me, but I'm not very good at it. I do pray for God's will in my life. And, you know, I don't always, y'all probably heard, I don't always know what God's will is, but I know what it isn't. And, you know, my higher power wants me to be a productive member of society, be kind to people, do the next right thing. And I'm not always perfect at it. But it's a daily effort to try to be better today than I was yesterday. And, you know, working the steps, like I say, I've changed, but I don't know when. You know, it had to be starting after the 4th and 5th step. And then I think by the time I got to 10, 11, and 12, the maintenance steps, I was in awe of this program and how my life had changed and how my thought pattern had changed, and how automatically when something goes on in my life, I think differently than I did in the beginning when I first got clean. My thought pattern is different, my reactions are different, and I'm more at peace. You know, I got through my mom dying, and it's all a result of this program. You know, I don't have to react. You know, shit happens in life, and I don't have to react in a way that is not healthy for me. You know, I've gotten through a lot of stuff clean, and I'm grateful for that. So I know, where's the word I was looking for? We are on a spiritual path which will lead us to a greater understanding of our higher power. And I have strived for that, and I pray for that. You know, sometimes I want people, especially new people, to understand that this is not a religious program. And I mean, I have my certain beliefs, and I think it's important. I've heard some people say, well, if I can't mention a certain name, then NA is not for me. And to try to get them to understand that everybody needs to feel welcome, and anybody can get this program. Talks about open-mindedness. Our understanding of a higher power grows and changes through prayer and meditation. And I think that's true for me. There was something else that was real good in here. you know, I'm glad I can see God's will in my life when I can feel it. You know, I can feel God's will in my life, and it's always something good. And I believe that there's certain lessons that my higher power tries to teach me. Sometimes I listen and sometimes I don't. But I think certain lessons in my life, if I don't learn it the first, second, or third time, that lesson, I'm going to keep repeating it until I get it, until I learn that lesson. And so I'm grateful for that too. You know, I'm not real long-winded, so I don't know if I can share that long.
You don't have to.
Okay, I know.
Some of us might want to share
Yeah.
anyway.
All right, step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry the message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And in this book, it breaks down every step. You know, when we work each step, it talks about step 1, it talks about step 2, 4, and 3, all the steps, and kind of breaks it down a little bit. And it was kind of interesting to me how they all go together. And it reminded me, like I say, it's been years since I've read this, which I'm kind of sad to say, but this is true. Breaking it down and seeing how each step has affected my life and how it's changed me, and how I really could see by reading this in this book, how it all has to be in a certain order for us to get that peace and serenity and the feeling that we get. The spiritual void we felt at the beginning of our recovery has been filled with gratitude, unconditional love, and a desire to be of service to God and others. My service commitments, I got involved with H&I when I had 6 months clean, and I've been doing it ever since. And my passion is going into the jails. You know, I do hospitals too, but my passion is the jails, because when I was in jail, there wasn't meetings that were brought in. And, you know, I've seen H&I full circle, and it's awesome. You know, if you've never done H&I, you should try it. Is to be able to see somebody in a meeting after you do a jail meeting or a hospital meeting. There's a guy here at the convention that was at a hospital that we did not too long ago. And, you know, to see him here, and, you know, it's just an awesome way to serve. You know, there's other ways to serve in the program, but, you know, I love H&I. H&I got into my blood, and it's almost an addiction now. So, I mean, I really love H&I. So, I mean, the way to serve in H&I is just, it's unbelievable to me. You know, and Janine and I do H&I together, and we're just now fixing to start getting back into the jails. You know, after COVID, they closed it all down. So we've been really trying to get back in there, so I can't hardly wait. So H&I service, and service is very important. And, you know, with service, I chair my home group. I think it was explained to me early on that the group level, to get there and set up and be there with the doors open if the suffering addict comes, that's one of the first and the most important service commitments there is to be there and make sure it stays. So I did that, and I still do that, but you know, H&I is my thing. That's all I can think of right now that I need to say. So, I mean, service and carry the message to the addict who still suffers is pretty amazing to me, because just seeing some of the people, you know, at the meeting and the newcomers and all that stuff, it's such a blessing to see. And I think it's awesome. So with that, I'll shut up.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for sharing. This one was
So at this time, we'll open the floor, if you would like to share, there's a couple options. Either one, you can exchange if you want to move to the back and let anyone sit in that chair, since the camera's working better and it's not floating on that other one.
You want to
If
sit right here?
not, I can turn it towards you. It's totally up to you, but nothing that's going on visually is going to make it. It's just going to be the recording of us talking. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
That's
just to,
fine.
yeah, just to let you know.
Okay, let me get to the beginning here. Okay, my name's Janine and I'm an addict.
Hey, Janine.
Okay, step 10, we continue to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Taking personal inventory. I have a sponsor, she's incredible. I had to drop one sponsor and take on another sponsor. Her name's Karen and she sits right here in this chair. And the reason for it was that she knows a lot about me because of her mom. And I think the one thing that was very important is that I've learned to take personal inventories when I would be, say for instance, worried. I get stressed real easy. And she would tell me, calm down, just calm down, and I would write about it. So it got to be to where instead of just, I would take a personal inventory, like writing about it, journaling about it, and then admitting when we were wrong. That's something, when ego is in the way, that's a hard thing to do. And being out there, in the streets, on the streets, that's not something I ever did. I was never wrong for any reason to anybody. And so having to admit when I was wrong was a big deal. However, I lost someone really close to me on September the 3rd of last year. We've been together for 6 years, and that was very difficult. And I had to go from there and start admitting things that were wrong in my life, and especially in that relationship, because I had let things happen, like he had a girl on the side, and I let that, just pass by in order to have a relationship with this guy. And it's something that I did in relationships previously in my life, and because I was using, and it was I had a low self-esteem, and so I took what I could get, if you want to say.
2:30. It's not really 2:30.
2:36.
So, yeah, I had a real low self-esteem. So I would find guys that, were, I wasn't selective. And I would find guys that were bad boys, and they would tend to, I'd take them right away. I'd meet them and they would want to do something really fun. And of course, we'd always be using, drinking and drugging and rock and rolling. And the more dangerous that was things that were being done, the more exciting to me it felt like. So that's the kind of guys that I rolled with. And boy, did I roll, let me tell you. Because it then comes the abuse, the physical abuse, the emotional abuse, the what am I trying to say? Physical, emotional, mental abuse. And that's why another place that I was never wrong. Because people always, my family, other people in my life that I knew would tell me, Janine, you're in a bad relationship. You're going to end up really getting hurt. or something worse is gonna happen, you know, somebody you love's gonna end up getting hurt. And I would say, no, no, you know, he's good to me, he's this, he's that. And that's the kind of relationship that I was in, not all the way, but close enough. And he died. And when he died, you know, I had to pack up a whole house full of stuff, and I had a memory of him all in a storage room that I have. But anyway, that's not important. What is important is that I started having to admit the wrongs that I was seeing, and I grew a lot from that. And if we flash on to step 11, I just gotta see it written down. I'm a gotta see it kind of person. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Boy, I've done a lot of that. Praying to God for his will. I prayed a lot to whoever was up there for my will for years and years, because I would say just prayers, but I was half-assedly saying these prayers. I was wanting what I was praying to happen, and more or less expecting what I was praying to happen. And when it didn't, I was plenty frustrated, you know, and I'd be like, well, God, you know, where are you? You didn't show up. And it got after a while, you know, years and years of that. And in a way, I knew I wasn't doing something right. Something wasn't right. You know, I wasn't doing something right. But now, after coming into Narcotics Anonymous and finding a higher power, a God as I understand him, it's changed. There's no drugs, there's no alcohol, there's no men, there's nothing but me and God, and I'm clean, and I'm praying to him, only I'm praying to him for his will. You know, something I was totally not used to whatsoever. And I was taught to, you know, the man who stood up tonight for 48 years of recovery, I take care of that gentleman during the day. And he has stories upon stories, but one of the things that we do devotion every day, and one of the things he tells me is, Janine, it's got to be God's will. Not your will, not my will, but God's will. And that's what I had to start implementing, was the fact that it has really nothing to do with me, because I can't change anything anyway. So that's what I had to say about that. And then in 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles into our affairs. Oh, that's a good one. When I first came into the program, I was blind. I couldn't hear nothing. And you know, I mean that, of course I could see and I could hear, but what I meant was is
Spiritually.
I came in and I was just like, but I had to, it was like going into a whole different world. I had to feel it out, you know, what was going on, who are these people, how do y'all live? I mean, I had no clue. I was totally, teach me, you know, show me, because I was broken. I was so broken, and I was ready for whatever. I was so ready. I had belonged to the other program for a number of years. And when I found NA, I was like, this is it. This is where I belong. And when I started really delving into, when I found Karen, and Karen said, okay, well, we're going to start on the steps. She gave me a little bit of time, however, for us to just, for me to start. I call her every day. I still call her every day. And we've been together about 2.5 years now. And one thing I can say is I've had 3 sponsees, and 2 of them just disappeared, fell off the face of the earth. But one of them called me back today. She had left and went back to her mom's, but she texted me a couple of days ago, and she said, hey, and I was like, where are you? And she said, I just got out of jail, but I wanted you to know I was doing okay. And I was like, oh, thank you. That was so cool. Because, you know, that's a real special thing. You find out when people that have been so good to you and have taught you, and then you can give back to them. So, and as far as practice these principles in all our affairs, through doing the steps, I have really been able to do that. I have really been able to not steal, not lie, not cheat, not manipulate. Ooh, big one. And I was a manipulator. You know, I was bad. I was really bad. And I am coming into a whole new person. It's incredible. It's incredible. And thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Janine. All right, my name is Josh. I'm an addict.
Hey,
Hey,
Josh.
Josh.
I think you probably want to share too, right? A little bit. All right. I will use this to keep our time here as we come to an end. The really neat thing for me, number one, is that being in the workshops and being so busy, it does give me a chance to sit still and to be present, because that's what 11 talks about quite a bit. Is the only thing that's truly important for me is right now, not right over there or not yesterday or that way. It's right now. And you know, as I've been through the steps a couple of times, I start seeing how I start seeing the exact nature. And the funny thing about step 10 for me, which it states, is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And it says in step 5, what does it say? In step 5 is about admitting. And who do we admit to? To God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. And so if I'm at step 10 and I'm taking personal inventory, somebody said it earlier, not to crosstalk, but it's only us 4. For me to try to race off and try to do a correction of that wrong, I have completely missed the point of step 5, and it reels me right back in again. Have I talked to my higher power? Did I call my sponsor? And before I make or correct, did I change my behavior? Because as an addict, if I've not done that, then more than likely, I have no business picking up that phone and trying to get myself feeling better because I've got you to believe that I'm a healed person. Calling you For me, it's when I go into work or when I go into life or I go into a friendship, can I show up in a manner that starts to correct a behavior that I am continuing to take a personal inventory on? And I don't know that. It's just so funny on these steps. I don't know that unless I have actually done a very thorough step 4 and 5. When I look back around through the steps this time, I realized that it was so much, it wasn't about the drug anymore. Of course, we know that. It was more about I call it the perpetuating fear, the fear cycle. Fear that I'm not enough, the fear that I'm going to be alone, the fear that, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Before I ran up earlier on downstairs, it was, oh my God, you know, I want to be up here, but I don't want to be up here because this is everybody. It's the newcomers convention. It's our convention, but it really is the newcomers convention because you could feel the energy in that crowd when that person with 24 hours stood up. And step 10 is helping me to right size the ego, because right after I continue to keep it right sized, it moves me right into step 11 and says, be sought through prayer and meditation. Again, we know the rest of it, praying only for knowledge of his will for us. And some days I'm just like, you know what, I'm not praying for none of that because I already know what it is, and then it got nothing to do with what I want today. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to be real quiet. And it's funny because if I can't figure out how to pray for that knowledge and I sit real quiet, then guess what? That's also a form of meditation. As long as I don't continue to repeat some of those behaviors. Sometimes just sitting still keeps me from repeating behaviors. Isn't that amazing? That is crazy. Sometimes when I get all riled up, as long as I don't get high, sitting still might be exactly where I'm supposed to be at that moment. You know, and I had a different relationship with step 11 when I realized I didn't have to cross my legs, put my hands out like this right here, and start this breathing technique. Now I do those things, but I didn't have to do all that. That wasn't the only form of meditation. That wasn't the only way. Meditation wasn't the only way in that form of me listening to my higher power. Sometimes just shutting up and turning the noise down is a form of meditation. Sometimes for me, running is a form of meditation. Sometimes for me, not sometimes, all the time for me, sitting right here is a form of meditation. Because from what I'm told, meditation is where I hear my higher power, and I certainly hear my higher power sitting right here. So that is step 11 over and over and over again. I try to figure this thing out, and I try to make it all pretty and hear all those other things going on. The reality is that if I'm sitting my ass in a meeting, it is a form of meditation, and I don't have to beat myself up tomorrow because I didn't meditate the way somebody else did. The very same way that I don't have to believe in your higher power, I can believe in mine. It's a form of meditation. And through all that, having had a spiritual awakening, and it does say this in the step working guide, we don't stop. It says that we get ready to go again. We get riled up to go again because of those obsessions. It's not different. They just show up. They just show up, and I think for me, they're just more clear. And I get to see my obsessions keep me on time. I get to see my obsessions more clearly when I work with other addicts, because it says in the Living Clean book that the best way for me to see a reflection of where I'm at in my recovery is to look out into the relationships I find myself in. And that is the mirror that's being held up with where I'm at now. If I'm struggling at work or I'm struggling with that, there's probably nothing wrong with my work. There's probably something wrong with my relationship with my job, or my relationship with a partner, or my relationship with a friend. Probably nothing wrong with those friends. It's probably something that I can, not that something's wrong with me, it's probably something that I can take a closer look at. And I find that I can get out of that obsessive thinking when I'm working with another addict, which is where steps 10, 11, and 12 get me back to again, is working with another addict. Because when I loop back around through the steps, I get real excited to tap back into where my sponsees are at. I'm like, hey, I'm coming up behind you again. You're on step 4. I might pass you if you're on step 4. And they're like, oh man, I can't, my sponsor passing me again. I'm on step 4. It's pretty fun. You know, it's not that we create a game about it, but it's where we can kind of let loose and be ourselves and practice some humility and some honesty. That's all I got.
Hi, I'm Trinity, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Trinity.
So I like what you said. When I look at the steps today, boy, what a different view I get, you know? I see a design or a remodel of a house that my higher power gets to live in. But first I gotta go through and throw out all the stuff I don't need, like some bad hoarder, you know, years and years of being a trash can. This man right here has really taught me the knowledge of recovery. He was my sponsor for 2.5, almost 3 years. A mentor. And over the years, we've just gotten closer and closer. And it's like, I lost my brother, but God gave me another person to love in that aspect. Someone who ultimately had more roles in my life than I was ever going to see, and has helped me grow tremendously. I say that because, you know, I was sitting out here praying for love. I was praying for, you know, I wanted someone to love me. I was scared I was never going to find love. Guess what? I didn't find it when I wanted it, but it came at the right time. But the problem was that I had people who loved me. This man right here and a few others. They're the whole time sitting in front of me. And until I had to make a decision to take care of me and get clean again and send my other half up the road temporarily, that was the moment that my higher power and I clicked. I remember very vividly 14 days in, I took my passenger side seatbelt, clicked it, locked it, and said, God, you're riding, but you're also driving. And that seatbelt's still locked today. And I call my sponsor every single day. I call him every single day. When he's not busy, he calls back. I try to make my sponsor's 9:30 curfew because she goes to work too. So I'm always trying to be aware, because if I don't take that personal inventory and see my character defects popping up, that's my gauge right there that I need to turn around and go back to God. Because the minute my character defects start showing, I can't let that out. My meditations unfortunately come at different megahertz and visualizations, and it eases me into sleep and slows me down. I see it. And you know, I don't understand God's will for me. I have an idea of where he wants me to go. And it's gradually have gotten there. Back then I wanted to do it, but it just wasn't time. And now that path is leading me to the direction, but I'm not ready for it because it's happening so fast I can't keep up with God. But tonight at that meeting, when that girl walked out after relapsing with just 3 days of clean time, I recognized her tears and I recognized the expression on her face, and I walked up to her and I told her, honey, before you get a sponsor, before you work steps, first thing you need to sit down and do is, what is your God not? Because in order for you to go through all of these things, you need to know who your God is. If I had been told that when I came into the rooms, my recovery journey may have looked a lot different, and I may have a lot more clean time than I have today. But that being said, it's never too late. And I know that that God has changed me from the inside out, is driving my spirit and my heart. And I've had one damn good example of God's love for me sitting right here and through a few other people that's helped make me the woman that I am today and the recovering addict I am today. I used to be angry, bitter, dark in my heart. And today I actually am a positive person. And I love people, and I care, and I cry, and I feel others' pain. And I get to show up and be a better sister and a better friend. And these are all things that I never did before in any stint of clean time that I had in the rooms of recovery. And that's because I never took time to figure out what my higher power was not. So.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
All right, guys, let's circle up.